A következő előadó Professor Dr. Ansgar Thiel, a Cologne Sports Egyetem rektora. Understanding Generations After Paris, a Challenge for Talent Promotion in Elite Sport. Ez az előadásának címe, amely angol nyelven zajlik. The next speaker is Professor Ansgar Thiel, rector of the Cologne Sports University. Please come up on the stage and keep your speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, so many young people here. It's really nice. And so much place between the audience and where the speakers are. Do you understand me in the back? Is there somebody who was born after 2005? You? How so? So I guess I'm talking a lot about you. So yeah, dear ladies and gentlemen, usually if you talk about technology, if you talk about innovation, you usually talk about technology. And we Germans, we did not very good at the last, championships, not only the Olympics, we didn't do very good in sports in general over the last years. And normally, when we talk about the problems in sports, we mainly talk about training science, exercise physiology, we need new technologies, but we rarely talk about society. If I understood it right, you were talking a lot about society. And I will talk about society too, because what we realized over the last 10 years or so, that fundamental changes have been going on in society. And coaches we were talking to, they told us, we never had such similarities between coaches with regard to how they dress. Professor Mochai, he has a jeans, not only a suit, so it's very colloquial, and the jeans are more or less the same we wear, and you who were born after 2005, it's not the same. I have different jeans on, but like the fashion is very similar. We listen to similar music, but at the same time, the coaches said, we don't understand the young generation. And they asked us, what's the problem? Why don't we understand the young generation? There's a fundamental difference. And so we started to think about it. And we asked the questions, why do coaches fail to understand young generations? And that's a question we are dealing with. And we were thinking it from perspective of society, from sociology mainly, and what impact societal changes in society had on talent promotion. And that's what I'm talking about in the next 90 minutes. I don't know. So, yeah, I know. So, generations, the term generations, that's kind of a very stereotypical term. Generations, there are different generations, like you know the terms baby boomers. It's kind of the baby boomers, yeah. So I'm the baby boomer. German baby boomers are different than American baby boomers. German baby boomers are younger than the American baby boomers, but it's more or less the same. Generation X, Generation Y, millennials, and all these different people they have something in common, that performance is and hard work is very relevant for success. And now we have a different generation, the so-called Generation Z and the Generation Alpha, and particularly those who were born after 2005 grew up in totally different environments than those who grew up as baby boomers. And that's what I'm talking about. And these differences and that coaches fail to understand younger generation that's a result of mainly societal change. So the most important changes in society over the last, I would say, 50 years were the processes of individualization of society on the one hand and digitalization of society on the other hand. If we talk about individualization, the first thing we have to talk about is education. Like you, everybody in the back, you were educated in a totally different manner than Lajos or you or me. We were educated in a totally different manner. We had to listen to the older ones, and we had to do what they told us to do. And we thought that's not a good thing, just to do what the elders say, so why should they know it better? So educational strategies changed. Educational paradigms, for example, in school, in primary school, in kindergarten, they totally changed. And so the goals of educating were different. Like in the past, it was like we have to work hard to have professional success because we need work, and work is our entire life. The education of your society, of your generations were different because the promotion of happiness, of like developing yourself, was in the middle of all the strategies. And we tried to encourage young people to express, not only to feel what they want to do, but also to express their feelings. Like when I talk to my kids, I don't say, do this or do that. I ask, do you want to do this? And on the one hand, that's a good thing. On the other hand, it's difficult, particularly for teachers and coaches. Like, for example, I talked to the head of a kindergarten last week, and she said that parents told her she can't, what's the term, wickeln, like babies, put nappies. You understand? Put nappies for your babies. She can't say, oh, you need nappies. Can I put nappies? She has to ask, can I put nappies? She can't do just put nappies on the babies. She had to ask the young kids at the age of 2, can I put nappies? And if they say no, she can't. The parents won't allow it. So the kids get a say in their entire life world. And that's how we educated children. And the second thing, what changed is that we have fewer kids than before. My parents, for example, my father, he comes from a family of 14 kids. Me and my cousins, we are 30 cousins, 30. So we met every year, and so one grandmother. And when we wanted to talk to our grandmother, we had to wait in a row. Like, you had the chance every now and then. Now, today, in all these patchwork families, you get the situation that you have 4 grandmothers for one kid. And that's totally different, because in the past, we had to compete for the attention of our grandmothers, and now grandmothers have to compete. Adults have to compete for the attention of their kids. So the kids are in the middle of the center, and they can say how things have to go. And so the kids grow up in these environments where they have a say. And then they come to school, or they come to the kindergarten, and they say, okay, I don't want to play with Johanna. Nobody says, you have to play with Johanna. Nobody would do it. So, do you want to play with Johanna? No. So you don't have to play with Johanna. And that's totally different with regard to education in school, and particularly in sports. And because children, after a while, they develop I think the feeling that they are in the center of the world. And they're not responsible for that, because this is a product of education. It has its advantages, but as I said, for educators it's difficult. The second thing is that life worlds become spatially segmented. We live in a world of islands. There's so many islands. It's not like you can go out on the street as a kid and play on the street. You have to go to school, first island. In America, you can't even, or I lived in Australia for a while. I was playing ball with my son on the street, and suddenly a neighbor came out and said, oh, well, I called the police. You can't play on the street. It's much too dangerous. And I thought, okay. In America, somebody told me that she moved to America, their kids were playing on the street alone. And then somebody called the police, and she had to explain why her kids played alone on the street. So they said, you can't do it. It's way too dangerous. And so kids are going to school, they are carried by their parents to music, to the sports club. Even if they want to meet friends, you have to create play dates. Like you can't meet on the street, you have to create play dates. And so the so-called helicopter parents, have you heard the term helicopter parents? Have you heard helicopter parents? The parents are flying over the kids and monitoring every step. And so, because the kids are dependent on the parents, because they have to move from one island to the other. So and the third thing is, street play has largely disappeared. I don't know how the situation is in Hungary. Do you have kids that play on the street? Many? Still? Oh, okay. That's really not happening anymore in Germany. So you do not have kids without parents. Usually kids play at a playground, for example. In America, you do not find kids playing on the street unsupervised anymore. In Germany, you usually do not find it anymore. So because many games which were considered in the past, like we were climbing on the trees, yesterday we were talking about it, what we did when we were young, all these games are not allowed anymore. If you like the Rutsche, the slide, yeah, if you're standing at the slide, your young kids, you do not let your kids slide alone. You're standing directly beside them because if they fall down, you're there to secure them. So it's kind of a risk reduction, and this risk reduction is elementary for our living together with kids because we don't want them to get hurt. And in the past, like when we met with 30 cousins, we were doing everything. There was no adult nowhere. My cousins, they told me when they were 2 years old and they were playing somewhere in a barn. And it was so dangerous. They said they were jumping from 10 meters down in hay, like doing everything. And no parents were around. And today that doesn't happen anymore. So the flip side of it is that the spontaneous play on the street is kind of, well, controlled by parents. And parents, they think, if you play, then the play has to have kind of a function, an effect on the development of the kid. So it's not spontaneously, it's just kind of, in most ways, monitored or at least supervised. So the second thing, the second big change in society is the mediatization and digitalization of the environments, of the living environments of adolescents. So 2005, therefore, I ask you, 2005 YouTube was founded. So it's just 2005. 2007, the term influencer emerged. So it's the first time we heard the term influencer. Today, everybody knows what an influencer is. 2007, the first iPhone, which we could go on the internet, was presented. And around 2010, a wider public became aware of YouTubers, particularly young people. So what happens today is that mobile devices, like for example, let's walk around. So I'm really I'm trying to get in contact with the guys here. So like you, yeah. Like this mobile device, can I have it? Can I have it? All right. So this thing, this is an elementary part of our life. You know what I mean? It's elementary. And if I take it away, I talked to a psychiatrist, and he said they have to take it away sometimes from young kids, and it's like an amputation. Because you think, oh, something's missing. How do you feel? So, yeah, well, The first time I was talking about it, I took a phone from somebody explaining it, and I forgot that I had it. And so on the highway, I realized, oh shit, I still have the iPhone. And so I had to get back. The guy was still waiting. He didn't say anything, so I hope I won't forget it. Can I have it? Yeah? All right, so no, I give it back. So, but these things, communication has changed fundamentally, and that's the most important thing. Who doesn't do WhatsApp? Who doesn't communicate via WhatsApp? Nobody. You don't have WhatsApp? You don't. Well, you are the only one, probably, because almost everybody communicates via WhatsApp. 75% at least of the time of young people at the age of 15 they communicate. 75% of all communications are done via their iPhones or smartphones. 75%. So, and WhatsApp is a totally different form of communication. We do not even realize it. When I first realized how WhatsApp works, I went to I was sitting at home with my wife watching Netflix. So, and I realized my daughter, she was giggling. So, and I thought, hey, is there somebody? And she was talking to, or I thought she was talking to somebody. As a helicopter parent, I went to a room, knocking. And so, and I said, is somebody there with you? And she said, no, why? I'm just checking my WhatsApp messages. It was 10 years ago or something, or 8 years ago. And I thought, okay, so can I listen to it? Helicopter parents. And she said, yes, okay. So what are you talking about? She was talking to her friend. What are you talking about? And she said, a guy in school. She was 16 years old. A guy in school, yeah, well, he's nice, but, and so on. When did you start? It was 10 o'clock at night. When did you start talking about it? And she said, 6 o'clock this morning. And they were talking about it over the entire day in sequences. And I said, when do you listen to the messages? And she said, when I have time. When do you answer? When I have time. So it's totally different. I give you an example. Lajos, what was your biggest success? Did you realize what I did at the moment? I was asking Lajos a question, and I went away. I didn't listen to him. I didn't even look at him. And that's the form of communicating via WhatsApp. It's individually structured on the time level. So it's kind of an individual social life, an individualized sociality. You understand what I mean? So I am social, I'm socially communicating. So I give it back to you. So I'm socially communicating, but I'm doing it in the way I like to do it. You understand what I mean? And that's a fundamental difference compared to face-to-face communication. Because in face-to-face communication, we have to look at a certain person, and we have to stay there where we are until the communication is over. In mobile communication, online communication, we don't have to do it. We can do whatever we want to between the sequences we create, communication-wise. And also, if we take, for example, like if we do Zoom, you do Zoom communication, yeah. Zoom, you see only, well, the face. Like now, yes, the face. I don't see your entire body or your body, just see the face. I do not see gesticulation. I do not see, the entire bodily expression. Communication is reduced to facial expressions and not more. That means that in this Zoom communication, I'm just seeing and communicating in a very reduced manner. And I will tell you later why this is important. So, because it's kind of a process of civilization, you remember Norbert Elias, the process of civilization, that emotions and bodily expressions were well, they were kind of vanishing. And now, just, well, if you take Instagram, for example, you just have static images. You do not even have mimics and so on. Like you see here, like the internet is a totally different word. The duck face, taking pictures from myself at a restaurant, for example. I was in Israel visiting a very popular mosque. And so there was a guy with his girlfriend with this telescope iPhone. And they were sitting around and wandering around, taking photos like this. And I asked him, as a sociologist, you can do some things like that. And I asked him, why don't you take a picture of the mosque by itself? Why do you take a picture from you and the mosque? And he was looking at me, and probably he thought I'm crazy. I'm nuts. He didn't understand the question. I asked, well, you want to see the mosque? And he said, yes. So why don't you take a picture of the mosque and not just the mosque and not you and the mosque? And he said, it doesn't make sense. The mosque without me doesn't show that I was here. You understand? So I have to present that I was there. Me, as a person. A mosque is just important if the person itself, if I am there. You understand the difference? Like in this case, like the Mona Lisa, the duck face Mona Lisa. So that's a new way of seeing things, seeing the world. It's always from the perspective of myself. I am myself, I'm always included. So, and what's the last thing? What we realized in our research is that social media has become a very attractive career field. We did a research on highly gifted individuals in mathematics, in music, and in sport. And I asked a girl, she was very good in school, 10 years old, 7th grade or something. And I asked her, what do you want to become when you're an adult? And she said, I want to become an influencer. I said, oh, I expected doctor, lawyer, professor or something. But she said, influencer. And I asked her, why? And she said, well, as an influencer, you do not have to work hard, but you get all the money you want to. You earn such a shitload, she said, really, a shitload of money. And that's true. Take a look what the guys earn. If you're a YouTuber, and that's 2 years old, this statistics, if you have over 7 million followers, you get for every post you do on YouTube, you get $300,000. You earn $300,000 for every post on YouTube if you have over 7 million euros. So you can think about it, doing 100 posts a year, that's quite a lot of money. Well, I tried to, but nobody wanted to follow me. So my son, he created a YouTube channel with fashion. He was 13 years old or 12, and he got, I think after 1 month, he had 10,000 followers. So he would have started to get money, but then it was too much work for him. So it's too exhausting. So that's the flip side of it. Like, if you take a look at the stars, Mr. Beast. Who knows Mr. Beast? Mr. Beast, that's a cool guy, isn't he? He says, 100, I have to tell it to the elderly what Mr. Beast does. Mr. Beast, for example, he became popular when he did a clip where he was watching paint on the wall drying. That's very, very popular. Did somebody watch this video? Well, it's very boring, isn't it? I tried to, but it takes, I think, 9 hours. There's another clip where he says 100,000 times beauty pie. Beauty pie, 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 and 100,000 times, it takes 16 hours or something. I managed to watch it for, I really think, 30 seconds, and then I got it. I got the idea. But it's really, he has 312 million subscribers. He earns, well, the annual earnings 2024 estimated $100 million. And he even said he stopped doing video clips. So the next thing, Ryan Kay. Ryan Kay, he showed toys. Perhaps I can show it to you. I don't know if it works. I know it doesn't work. But Ryan Kay, this video is so boring. Ryan shows toys. And it has 138 million views. 138 million views. Michael Jackson is nobody against Ryan Kay. Ryan Kay just for showing toys and talking about, look, here's a lion. Oh, I play with this lion. And this goes for hours. But there are 138 million people, and his YouTube channels get more than 3 billion views per year. And this is Nastya. Well, you get the idea. She has more than 400 million followers in 2023, more than 80 million earnings per year. And she's talking with her father. She forgot in this clip the birthday of her father. And her father thinks she gives a present to him, but she gives it to a toy. And it's really, for me, it's boring. I watched it from a scientific perspective, of course, but it was really boring. So the thing, this girl told me, it's easier to earn money for doing nothing, for creating, because everybody gets the impression what Nastya does, or what Ryan Kay does, or what Mr. Beast does, I can do it as well. But it's not so easy. But the public perception, the perception of young people is, I will become an influencer because then I get money and I don't have to go to school or whatever. I don't have to study and whatever. So that's one thing. And we expect to change, that the world will change even more. AI, who doesn't, or who uses ChatGPT? Yeah, most people will use it. In a year, everybody will use it. So artificial intelligence will change our world, and it will also change the sector, for example, art, music. It will change sports as well, because people are working, for example, in sports. They are working on games, on virtual games, where we not only have those classes on, that we can go into the virtual environment, where we can totally immerse into the virtual world, even tasting virtually. So then the question is, why do I have to stay outside of the internet, training, doing boring things like throwing balls? Oh, no offense. Like, well, I was a handballer too when I was in another life. Or doing other things, gymnastics and so on. Why do I have to train for hours just to play in the 5th league or something, when I can go on the internet, meet, have the avatar look like I want to look, and have the partners that I like, and so on and so on. Even education changes. Education at the moment, I think you talked about it, about education, or you were talking about artificial intelligence and education at the conference, I heard, or you? Yeah. At the moment, I talk to guys, when I was Dean of Faculty of Economics and Social Sciences, I was closely working together with education science and learning science. And they are creating, at the moment, there's an American company, they are sampling facial expressions, millions of facial expressions when they learn, for example, mathematical tasks, when they have to solve mathematical tasks, or things we learn at school. And then they see, like, for example, you have to, what's 5 plus 5? And if they get what's 5 plus 5, the facial expression is like that. And then the artificial teacher continues to educate. If the expression is like that, and the facial expression is kind of the facial recognition software detects that the student doesn't get it, they change the didactical system. So I don't need a teacher anymore. The computer is my teacher because I have millions of didactical methods to teach mathematics, English, Hungarian, and whatever. And the facial recognition software gives information. Am I on the right track or not? If not, the system, the method changes. And they're really fans of it. And I said, hey, don't you forget anything? And they say, what? The learning effects are way better than in regular school. And I said, the most important things we learn in school is that nobody is talking to each other when I speak. For example, we have discipline, we have to wait for others, and so all these social things, they're not existing anymore in this artificial environment, in this virtual environment. And that's the problem, particularly for talent promotion. So I'm coming to the last part of my lecture. All these societal changes, they have fundamental impact on the way we want to promote talents. Like first, if the traditional assumptions of talent promotion is, I don't know who read the articles of Geoff Galvin or K. Anders Ericsson that talent is overrated. Today we believe talent is overrated. There's so many talents. A national coach told me there's so many talent. You won't be successful in sport or in music if you don't practice every day. And the important thing is that it's not irrelevant how you practice. You have to practice systematically, deliberately. Like you have to always practice at the kind of borders of your limits to overcome your limits, your limitations, and then you have to stabilize it. Am I right? And that's boring. There's almost nothing that's like I'm playing, in a former life I was a trumpet player. I like when I was young, so I studied music and trumpet. And so I had to, if you are a trumpet player or a piano player, you have to practice over and over and over again all these scales, and it's so boring for hours. It's not fun. But you are not successful in this traditional competitive systems if you don't do it. And to persevere, so you need, or to have success, you need intrinsic motivation, perseverance, frustration tolerance. If something doesn't work, you need the frustration tolerance to continue. Or you need a willingness to accept criticism. If the coach tells you, no, that's not right, you have to accept it. And you also have to partially subordinate yourself because the coach is the boss, not you, if you want to be successful in sport or in music. But what's today? If you take a look at the YouTube stars, at the influencer, then success is not necessarily connected to hard work, because the public image is that you also can be successful without working hard. So the young people think, why should I do all these boring training things? And also, when they come from their own environment, where their parents, their grandmothers, their grandfathers say everything, even the first, when they did the work as kids, oh, it was so cool. They get even applause for this. So when they come from home and everything's like you're the king, and then you have your first defeats, it's not you have your first frustrations. It's not compatible with your own worldview. So, and also what we realized in our research that young players, for example, in football, also I work together with Manchester City, even they say the young guys at the age of 10, they want to have a say in training. They do not accept that the coach is the only one who has the say. They say, I want to talk about tactics. And the coach said, no, you have nothing to say. And they say, no, I know it from TV. I know it from the internet. I know what I have to do. And so it's kind of a hard work to get the kids to do what you expect as a coach. So at the end of the day, well, I can overcome this. So like the question is, when we deal with young people, what can we do? Can we continue to coach like we have done it for years, for decades? And our research says no. We have to change school systems, we have to change education, we have to change training systems, because a lot of the kids won't accept it anymore if you're an authoritarian coach, if you dictate what the kids have to do. So we have to adapt, and that's innovation. We have to adapt. If we like it or not, that's totally different, because today's generation is not worse or better than our generation, it's just different. So we have to keep in mind, if they are different, then we have to change the way we deal with all these young people. We can't do it like we did it 20 years ago, because we won't be successful. And at the moment, that's a huge discussion in Germany going on, because there are some parts of coaching, they say, okay, in all these modern digitalized world, people need direction. We have to dictate it, but it doesn't work. The dropouts are way too big. Kids won't accept it anymore. So, but the question on the other hand, do we need all these social skills if we play handball or if we play football? Yes, we need it, because like if you don't learn in your natural environments to read facial expressions or body language, then you're lost on the field. If you can't listen, like for example, for more than 30 minutes, if you can't pay attention to somebody for more than 30 minutes, then it's very, very difficult to create a training system where you can repeat and repeat and repeat things just to get better. You understand what I mean? So, and that's a problem for today. So you need to learn. Many young people, particularly those at a very young age, they need to learn at the training field how to socially collaborate with others, not to put themselves in the middle of the team, but to think of the entire team, to put your ideas and your goals in the back just for the team. And that's not naturally given, because you learned it in the past, you learned it on the street. Because if you didn't want to play with somebody else, if you didn't want to listen to somebody else, then the game was over. Nobody was playing with you anymore. And if you do not have these street plays, there's no natural environment where you exactly learn these social skills. So we have to try to implement strategies to foster analog communication, to foster communication in the real world, to give them the social skills to interact in the real world. And that's the thing. When we only talk about innovation in training, about technology, or about exercise physiology, we forget one relevant thing, that society has changed. And that we have to adapt how to deal with these young people and what they need, because mostly they do not need what we think they need or what we experienced when we were young. They need a totally different treatment. So, and particularly, and that's the last thing I want to tell you, who knows Dom Tomato? Does anybody know Dom Tomato, the prominent parkour guy? At the moment, I brought something to you, like the highest death dive. Do you know how high they jumped? It's perhaps the video works. It's 40.5 meters. A belly flop, 45 meters. Perhaps just to take a look. Does anybody know this? That's not a fake. That's real. Isn't that crazy? It's 45 minutes. He's jumping from 45 minutes belly flop. Normally, I would be dead. You can't make a mistake, not the tiniest mistake, then you're dead. And that's the guy, this guy is a Norwegian, he trains for 6 to 8 hours every day just to jump from 40 minutes into the water, 40 minutes into the water. But the thing is, this jump, nobody would know about it if there wasn't the internet. So a main motivation for all these guys, for all these high achievers, like the parkour guys or these guys, the cliff jumpers or wingsuit, is that they broadcast their own performances on the internet and people can take a look at it. And that's totally different. So the internet is an integral part of doing sports beside the traditional sport context. And these contexts are getting more important than ever. So I'm coming to the end of my presentation. You see, I'm a digital native. So, okay, that's the last slide. What do we have to do as coaches? We have to keep in mind young generations are different. I said it before. So, on the one hand, the talented youngsters, they have to learn that top performance in these traditional performance settings requires discipline, dedication, perseverance, commitment. But at the same time, they are highly individualized, pedagogized young people who need a personal approach. We can't deal with them. We need to individualize communication with them. The second thing is talented players, they have to learn to deal with frustration, to tolerate it, and to deal with disappointments because they are not used to it in their national environment. But coaches, they have to think about that all these talented players, they need somebody who listens to them. So if they are frustrated, we can't say as coach, it's irrelevant for me. There are tons of talented players at the back, so I'm just substituting because that's not the way anymore. So I have to listen to them. They need somebody who listens to them, to their personal problems. So that's different compared to the past. Talents, they must learn to subordinate themselves at least partially because they have to accept the coaches, the things coaches say, because otherwise they won't learn anything. But the talents must also be given a say with regard to decision making. So we have to think about where can we give young talents a say without disturbing the training. And that's not so easy. Talented players, they need to practice socially relevant skills or social skills relevant to the game. And that's really necessary, but they also need to transfer this social into their natural environment because that the difference is not so big. And the last thing is the difference between media reality and top-class sporting reality must be talked about, at least, because they see all these guys on internet videos, like Germany's Next Top Model or Hungarian Next Top Model. I was watching it from scientific perspective, of course, so it was really interesting, but it was so different. So and that's the reality. So, but they have to learn that this reality is a constructed reality, where you only see success and not all the failure. So you see them crying for just some seconds, but they are losers because they're not getting forward. So you just see the winners, and that's not reality. Reality is hard work. Even in Germany, saw Hungarian Next Top Model, because to walk like this, I can't do it. Like it's really, it takes time to learn it. And I guess there's much more behind it. But also, talented athletes, we can't ignore it. They also must have the chance to present their performance to a wider public on the internet. Because it's like, if you are a judo athlete, who wants to see judo competitions? If you see judo competitions on the top level at the age of 15, they're only parents. There's no other people watching it. So I have to go every day to the judo training. Nobody is interested. If you tell to your classmates, well, I'm a judo athlete on the top level, they say, okay, yeah, nice. If you say, okay, I'm an influencer, I have 1 million followers, then they say, yeah, it's totally different. So athletes, they need a kind of a wider public on the internet and not just parents who watch them. Okay, so that's me. Thanks for your attention.